Do you remember the most iconic scene from Star Wars? The one where Darth Vader reveals to Luke that he is his father? Of course, you remember. Everyone remembers. The line that echoed through generations, that was parroted thousands of times, that you probably repeated at some point in your life. Luke, I am your father. Simple, direct, unforgettable. Except there's a problem. That line never existed. Go ahead. You can pause this video right now. Open the original 1980 film. Look for that specific scene. I'll wait. You're going to find something completely different from what your memory stored all these years. What Darth Vader actually says is no. I am your father. There is no Luke in that line. There never was. And now, you're probably thinking, that's impossible. But here's the disturbing part of this story. You're not alone in this confusion. Millions of people around the world share exactly the same incorrect memory. Millions of independent brains in different countries, different cultures, different languages, all stored the same wrong version of a line that was never spoken that way. Does that bother you? It should, because the question that will haunt you for the rest of this video is simple. What if everything you remember is a lie? Welcome to the most disturbing territory of the human mind, a place where the boundary between what is real and what you merely believe to be real dissolves completely, where your most vivid, most detailed, most absolutely certain memories may be nothing more than elaborate illusions created by your own brain. Or worse, where the reality you know may be literally changing around you while you watch this, and you don't even notice. This isn't science fiction. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a documented phenomenon, studied by neuroscientists, debated by physicists, and experienced by millions of people across the planet. A phenomenon so disturbing that it was named after one of the most famous leaders of the 20th century, the Mandela Effect. The name comes from an accidental discovery made by a researcher named Fiona Broom in 2009. During a conference, she began talking with other people about their memories of Nelson Mandela, the iconic South African leader. Fiona had a very specific recollection. She clearly remembered seeing coverage of Mandela's death in prison in the 80s. She remembered the news reports, the international commotion, the televised funeral. Vivid memories. Detailed. Absolutely real to her. The problem, Nelson Mandela didn't die in the 80s. He was released from prison in 1990, became president of South Africa in 1994, and only passed away in 2013. Fiona's memory was completely impossible, and yet, when she started sharing this recollection, something extraordinary happened. Other people had exactly the same false memory, not just one or two. Dozens. Hundreds. And when she researched online, she discovered thousands of people around the world with the same impossible memory. How is this possible? How can thousands of completely independent brains create the same false memory with the same details about an event that never happened? But that was just the beginning. And the next example is where things start to get really strange. Let's talk about the Berenstein Bears. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you'll probably know this family of bears that starred in children's books and an animated series. Do you remember their name? Think carefully before you answer. Most people respond with absolute certainty. The Berenstein Bears, with Eon at the end. After all, it's a name that sounds German or Jewish, like Einstein or Frankenstein. It makes perfect sense, except the real name has always been Berenstein, with Eon. Always. Since the first book published in 1962, you can check the original covers, the television program credits, any official documentation. The name has always been Berenstein, and yet millions of people have crystal clear memories of seeing Berenstein printed on those book covers. Some people swear they still own old books with the wrong spelling, but when they go to check, they find as if the books themselves had changed while stored on their shelves. Write in the comments, did you remember Berenstein? Or I want to see how many people here also remember it differently. And the examples keep piling up, each one more disturbing than the last. The Looney Tunes cartoon, the one with Bugs Bunny. Do you remember how it's spelled? Most people respond Looney Tunes with 2 O's because it makes sense. They're cartoons. SO-Tunes would be the logical abbreviation. Wrong. The official name has always been Looney Tunes, but millions of people have vivid memories of seeing Looney Tunes written on merchandise, on VHS tapes, on everything related to the show. But now comes something that most people can't explain. Monopoly. The most famous board game in the world. Can you visualize the mascot? That friendly gentleman with a top hat and mustache? Is he holding anything? Is he wearing any special accessory? Think carefully. The vast majority of people describe him wearing a monocle over his eye. It seems obvious. It fits perfectly with the image of a wealthy tycoon from the Victorian era, except Mr. Monopoly has never worn a monocle. Never. In no version of the game, in no country, in no year since its creation in 1935, the monocle simply doesn't exist, and never has. But if you ask someone to draw the mascot from memory, most will include the monocle without even thinking twice. What if you never lived in the reality you remember? Want something even more disturbing? The movie Shazam from the 90s, starring comedian Sinbad, as a bumbling genie who grants wishes to 2 children. Do you remember this movie? Many people remember it. They remember specific scenes, Sinbad's ridiculous costume, comedy moments. Except this movie doesn't exist. It was never produced. Sinbad never played a genie in any movie. People are probably confusing it with Kazam from 1996, which had Shaquille O'Neal as a genie. But here's the problem. The people who remember Shazam swear they also remember Kazam as a separate movie. They have distinct memories of both films, with different actors, different stories. How can you have detailed memories of something that literally doesn't exist? And this is where most people start to feel uncomfortable, because now we're going to talk about your own body. Human anatomy also hasn't escaped the Mandela Effect. Do you know where your kidneys are located? Most people point to the lumbar region, right at the lower back, but the kidneys are located much higher than people imagine, partially protected by the lower ribs. And the heart, is it in the center of the chest, or more to the left? Most point to the left, but the heart is almost in the center, only slightly tilted. These might seem like common anatomy confusions, but some people swear that the human body had a different number of ribs, that certain organs were in different positions than they are now, as if human biology itself had been subtly altered. Geography also presents anomalies. Can you visualize a world map? Where is New Zealand in relation to Australia? Many people clearly remember seeing New Zealand to the northeast of Australia. In reality, it's to the southeast. Some people swear Sri Lanka was much further south of India. Others have memories of countries with different shapes. South America seems to be further east than many remember. Comment below. Which of these examples has disturbed you the most so far? Famous brand logos are fertile territory for this phenomenon. Has the Ford logo always had that little stylized curl on the F? Most people don't remember that. Has Volkswagen always had that gap between the V and the W? Many swear the letters were connected. And Fruit of the Loom, that underwear brand with fruit in the logo. Many people remember a cornucopia, a decorative basket, behind the fruit. That cornucopia doesn't exist. It never has. But millions of people would draw it from memory without hesitation. And famous works of art. The Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. What's the expression on her face? Most people describe an enigmatic smile, mysterious, almost imperceptible. But many people now look at the painting and swear she is smiling much more noticeably than they remembered. Some people remember her with a completely neutral expression. Did the painting change? Or did our memories of the painting change? The Thinker by Rodin. Where is his hand? On his forehead or on his chin? Pause. Visualize. Most people remember the hand resting on the forehead, in a classic gesture of deep thought. But the hand has always been resting on the chin. Always. Go check any image. It's disturbing to realize that an image you've visualized mentally thousands of times is completely wrong. Or could you be remembering a different version? At this point, you're probably experiencing one of 2 reactions. Either you're thinking all of this has perfectly rational explanations, or you're starting to feel that chill down your spine. That feeling that something isn't right with reality. Let's explore the scientific explanations first. And they're fascinating. Neuroscience shows us that human memory doesn't work like a video camera. Memory is an active process of reconstruction. Every time you remember something, your brain isn't accessing a stored file. It's recreating that memory from fragments, filling gaps with assumptions, modifying details based on your expectations. This means that every time you access a memory, you alter it slightly. You're saving a new version over the old one, like editing a document and saving without creating a backup. Your most accessed memories are paradoxically the most prone to alterations. That childhood memory you tell at every party. It might be very different from the original event after decades of where the brain fills memory gaps with invented information, but so convincingly that you genuinely believe you're remembering something real. It's not lying. Lying requires awareness of the falsehood. In confabulation, you're absolutely convinced of the truthfulness of the fabricated memory. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus demonstrated that it's possible to make people believe they saw things they didn't see, simply by asking leading questions. After watching a video of an accident, when asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other, people estimated much higher speeds and frequently remembered broken glass that didn't exist. The brain filled in the details, so many examples of the Mandela Effect can be explained this way. Luke, I am your father, is easier to quote out of context. Popular culture adopted the incorrect version. Berenstein seems more familiar because it follows common name patterns. The monocle is probably contamination from other images of wealthy men. All explainable, all rational. But here's where things start to get truly strange, because these explanations leave some questions unanswered. Why are false memories so consistent among people who never had contact with each other? Why do millions of people independently create the same wrong version? With the same specific details? Why do some people swear they have physical evidence with the wrong versions that later seem to have changed? What if your memories aren't wrong, but displaced? There are theories about the Mandela Effect that go far beyond memory failures. Theories that suggest something genuinely inexplicable is happening. The most popular theory is parallel universes. Quantum physics suggests that an infinite number of universes may exist, each representing a different version of reality. In this interpretation, the Mandela Effect happens when a merger occurs between slightly different universes. Some people came from a universe where Nelson Mandela really did die in prison, where the bears really were called the Berenstein Bears. When the universes merged, these people brought their old memories that now don't correspond to this version of reality. This sounds like science fiction, but theoretical physics actually predicts the possibility of multiple universes. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957, suggests that each quantum decision creates a branch. If T is true, that are versions of you living in slightly different universes, what if consciousness can leak between realities? Another theory is the simulation theory. The idea is that our reality may be an extremely advanced computer simulation. In this scenario, the Mandela Effect would literally be a glitch in the matrix, a bug in the program, a poorly done update that left inconsistencies. When the programmers altered something in the code, changing Berenstein to Berenstein, they couldn't perfectly erase the memories of the simulated inhabitant. Residues of the previous versions remained. Elon Musk has stated that the probability of us being in base reality is 1 in billions. The argument is statistical. Any advanced civilization would create many simulations. It would be much more likely that we're in one of them than in the only original reality. And there's the CERN theory. The Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland is the largest particle accelerator in the world. Some theories suggest that the experiments may be affecting the fabric of reality, opening portals, causing changes in the timeline. Many examples of the Mandela Effect seem to have intensified after 2008, when the LHC began operating. Coincidence. Official science dismisses any possibility. But that's exactly what we would expect if they were covering something up. I know what you're thinking. These theories seem crazy. A convenient way to not admit that we simply have bad memories. And you might be right. But here's what keeps me awake at night. What does it mean to be wrong about a memory? If you have a vivid, detailed, emotionally real recollection of something, is that experience less valid because it doesn't correspond to physical evidence? Your experience of having seen Berenstein on the books is genuine. The feeling of familiarity, the absolute certainty, the surprise at discovering you're wrong. All of that is real. The only thing that isn't real, apparently, is the external event you believe you witnessed. How much of your reality is constructed by your memories? If you have memories of a happy childhood, you had a happy childhood, even if objective evidence suggests otherwise. If you remember conversations in specific ways, that's your reality. When your memories are shared by millions of other people, doesn't that confer upon them some kind of collective reality? Quantum physics has shown us that observation affects reality at the subatomic level. Particles exist in superposition until they're observed. Consciousness plays a role in determining physical reality. Would it be absurd to imagine that this effect could operate on larger scales? That collective consciousness could influence macroscopic reality? I don't know the answers. Nobody knows. That's exactly the point. The Mandela Effect forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge. It reminds us that our perception is mediated by a 3-pound organ that didn't evolve to understand objective truth. It evolved to keep us alive. Our brain is a meaning-making machine, not a truth machine. And perhaps that's the scariest thing about the Mandela Effect. Not the theories about parallel universes, but the realization that you can't fully trust your own memories, that your personal history may be filled with fabrications you'll never be able to detect, that you can be absolutely certain about something and still be wrong. Think about your most precious memories, that special trip, that moment with someone you love. Are you sure it happened the way you remember? Can you prove it? If you ask other people who were there, will they confirm every detail, or will their versions differ in significant ways? Who's right? Maybe no one. Maybe the question doesn't even make sense. The Mandela Effect may be just the tip of a larger iceberg. If our collective memory can be wrong about verifiable things like logos, what else could we be wrong about? Historical events, public figures, the past we were taught. How much of it would withstand rigorous investigation? And when we found discrepancies, how would we know if it's our memory that's wrong, or if something genuinely changed? What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and something fundamental about your life was different, but you were the only person who remembered the previous version? Your friends, your family, all records would confirm the new reality. Only you would have memories of how things were before. Would you insist on your version, or would you accept the new reality? How would you even recognize that it happened? That's the most unsettling part. Not that the Mandela Effect challenges our understanding of reality, but that it challenges our ability to trust ourselves. If you can't trust your memories, can you trust anything? Your perceptions are equally fallible. Your reasoning may be compromised by biases you can't detect. Your very identity depends on memories that may be fabrications. We're all trapped inside our own minds, building models of a reality we never access directly, and those models may be profoundly wrong in ways we may never discover. But maybe there's another way to look at this. Maybe the fragility of memory isn't a bug, it's a feature. If our memories were perfect recordings, we'd be trapped in rigid versions of the past. The malleability allows us to rewrite our personal history, to give new meanings to old experiences. It's what allows us to forgive, to overcome, to move forward. The Mandela Effect is a reminder that reality is stranger than our daily lives lead us to believe, that there are layers of existence we don't understand. Whether it's quantum physics, the unconscious processes of the brain, or something completely beyond our current ability to imagine. In the end, the Mandela Effect is an invitation to pay closer attention, to question your certainties, to consider possibilities that seem impossible, to marvel at the mystery of consciousness, memory, reality. We are still very far from understanding what's really happening, whether in the universe out there or in the universe inside our own heads. So the next time you have a memory that seems completely real but the facts contradict, don't immediately dismiss it as an error. Stop for a moment, pay attention to the experience, note the certainty, the detail, the feeling of reality. Consider the possibilities. Maybe your memory is simply wrong. Or maybe just maybe, you're remembering something that happened somewhere else, in another version, in another layer of a reality far stranger and more wonderful than you ever imagined. And if you've made it this far, if this video made you question your own memories, if it opened your mind to possibilities you've never considered, then you're exactly the kind of person we're looking for at the Archive Mind. Here we investigate the deepest mysteries of existence, the phenomena that official science can't explain, the questions everyone is afraid to ask. If you want to continue this journey, exploring the strangest corners of reality, subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any video. Leave a like if this content expanded your mind, and comment below. Which memory of yours are you now questioning? Share this with that person you know, who also notices that something is different, who also questions the official version of reality. See you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into these mysteries. Remember, the truth is out there. Or maybe it's in here. Until next time.